Welcome back to the Matrix, the repository of all Doctor Who lore, the postmodern trap, the ultimate test of media literacy for the modern fan. How can the Doctor Who timeline jigsaw work when none of the pieces fit together? How can canon exist when stories outwardly contradict one another? Broke Canon is a middling, long-abandoned series where we joylessly connect the dots together. A few years back, this project just got a bit out of control, I think, and now I'm left with badly written notes, squinting at some bullet points that I left for myself 3 years ago. At this point, Broke Canon is essentially lost media. It's essentially lost cause media. And on that subject, let's get talking about some Doctor Who. Yeah, I bet you missed this. If you don't want to do this, we don't have to bring the series back, okay? The Rani was a Z-list villain from the series EastEnders.
Say goodbye, doctors! You're all going on a long journey!
Don't want to do it too camp, do we?
No.
The OC of Pip and Jane Baker. Some could consider her to be the final villain of classic Doctor Who. And Revival Who. Back on target. I'm sad to be discussing this character, but what happened to her after that final, fateful day in EastEnders, the pub in EastEnders, where Bentley came in and gave her a good talking to? Well, the series has never really let her go. In The War in Heaven, the War King of Gallifrey, or the Homeworld, enlisted the help of a number of Time Lord fugitives, with the legally distinct Rani becoming a tutor for the newly born Loom babies. Dimensions in Time may have not gone well for her, but she encountered the 10th Doctor. It was a comedy strip, but it had a plot and everything.
Who's that, Doctor?
My word. The last one I met could at least speak properly. Your standards are slipping, Doctor. What? What? Calm down. Imagine how funny this conversation would be if she just rocked up casually in the middle of Series 2. That's sacrilege. Rose should not meet another Time Lord, and you know it.
I know. In here.
You are not alone. You are not allowed. The wiki describes this as a narrative taboo, and my 10-year-old self would absolutely agree. The Rani reaps the whirlwind. Try to say that 5 times. A strange little off-license sequel to Time and the Rani. In this, the vampire bats kidnap the Rani and subject her to her own trial of a Time Lord. The Tetraps have courts and a legal system. I tried listening to this to include in this video, and then nothing happened.
Well, the Rani!
The Rani keeps getting mentioned recently, alarmingly so. In Flatpack, the 9th Doctor is certain that the Rani did not survive the Time War. In The Wonderful Doctor of Oz, the 13th Doctor is convinced that the Rani is alive, and has invaded the land of fiction, kidnapping Frank Baum and recreating the Wizard of Oz. That would only be her 5th strangest plan. But no, the Rani is not around. She cannot meet Graham O'Brien. In fact, the end of her timeline, for now, very well could be that she died in the War in Heaven. Fitz Craner, the 8th Doctor's companion, he's a Time Lord hunter. And on his mantle, he has the stuffed head of the Rani and the stuffed head of the Master, and only one of those is the real deal. Thank you, Faction Paradox, for that gleefully stupid image.
Once more, we are summoned to this short-form plane.
Oh, I remember you. Go away.
Why don't you respond to us on Twitter?
My favourite Rani story, and this may surprise you, it wasn't even on TV. The best Rani story was written by the infamous Bill Baggs. In 2021, a Faction Paradox audio was written called Me and My Ghost. The contents of Me and My Ghost that's something else. Now old BBV were being a bit naughty here. They don't have the rights to the Rani anymore, which is why the Rani is using a genius disguise.
I've learned that her name is Nari, and I think she's a homeworlder.
Best disguise yet.
I know who you are, who you really are. There's no hiding anymore. We need to talk. I left her the suit.
The Rani collapses on his doorstep and just seems to sort of stick around living domestically with our sultry-voiced protagonist.
I think she's struggling with memory loss. Partial memory loss. She took my hand at one point. I was, well, a little excited. I haven't had any intimacy with a woman in a long while.
Please, I beg you to stop talking about the 1980s character the Rani in this way, of Mark of the Rani fame.
We even spend the occasional night together. Nothing serious, but that works for both of us.
Gets worse.
Because the real her, the evil bitch, has become trapped by her own clever chemistry. I decide to strike a deal.
Nothing really happens in this story. The main character finds the Rani covered in blood one night and makes no big deal about it, deciding to then sleep with the Rani for the next 3 nights of her stay. Yes, this is what we call in the fanfic spaces a domestic fic, where the main character just hangs out with the Rani and gets in her pants.
In fact, we have a date this evening. It's her turn to cook.
These 80s fans are wild. It turns out that Nari is up to her old tricks again, as she's been charming him using artificial love pheromones. I do not know for what purpose the Rani would require love pheromones, but again, not even the top 5 of her strangest plans. Part of me wants to ask, what would happen if the Rani fell on my doorstep and I was, infatuated via love pheromones? How would I react to, romantic involvement with the Rani?
In return for her keep, she remains under lock and key, and when the situation arises, I may call upon her talents to help come up with a remedy for any of the other patients who may need it.
This story is down bad. It's deeply wrong in a way that I almost respect. This is where the main character decides to blackmail the Rani. Stay with me. Let me lock you up.
I wheel in one of my torture devices.
Mr. Baggs, you have to stop writing. People can see this. It's a very short lesson, but it's packed full of lines like this.
I am delighted to see Nari sitting on the end of her bed looking out the window. I adore her scent.
You might be quick to judge this story, to dismiss it as smut, to dismiss it as Ernest Cline level sexual fantasy. But I, for one, was very impressed by how the main villain's name was an anagram of an old villain from Doctor Who. That's sick, let's do more of that. The wiki is less kind, sort of just dunking him in it. As he was the only performer in his role as narrator Dionysus, the story was almost exclusively his doing. You didn't have to phrase it like that, TARDIS Wiki. So yeah, if and when the Rani returns to our screens, all I will be able to think about is the time that she was kept as a sex pet. Mr. Bill Baggs, they'll kill you for this.
Maybe she did have a soft spot for me after all. As I lie in my bed, all alone, looking up at the stars, it feels good to know she's out there. But I doubt I'll ever see her again.
Fact number 2. Let's talk about a different Rani. On my lunch break yesterday, I got sucked down an old rabbit hole. I found the Sarah Jane Adventures games. Did you know there are Sarah Jane Adventures games? They were on the website. Via the magic of Flash, we had Rocks and Soils. This was a trickster adventure designed for Key Stage 2 education.
Let's restore order to this chaotic world by building a community shelter. Hurry, you've only got 60 seconds to complete the shelter before the trickster destroys the planet.
In this game, Clyde wields the power of a god. He has to put the moon back in the right place of orbit, after Luke fucked it up in the Series 2 finale. In Think Before You Sonic, you play as the whole gang. In deadly training rooms, they have to get to the TARDIS with your help. If you treat this game as literal, and trust me, that's what we do around here. This thing has a dense plot. This seems to be some kind of holodeck, where the Bannerman Road crew are helped by Sarah Jane Smith and the Doctor to get back to the TARDIS. Jumping over hurdles and blathering, and James Dreyfus. James Dreyfus boss battle! Get fucked. Nito Comtech is back and he's shooting fish all around the place at Clyde. Hey, Sarah Jane, could we do the other simulation? The one that doesn't have the thing that traumatized me and put me on the streets? That wasn't a very fun adventure for Clyde. And now here he is, back, with seemingly our whole dimension under his control. And he's shooting fish! In this one, Rani has to feed Captain Tybo the right things, otherwise he'll get angry. He currently has Clyde in jail, so this is less an educational tool about teeth, and more a police bribing simulator. I feel very dirty looking at this.
No, blow, blow, blow.
Oh yeah, you like that, big guy? BBC Bite Size is an amazing resource, but I still got a C in GCSE physics, and for that I only blame Captain Tybo. And all of these wonderful experiences, they reminded me that there is a Sarah Jane Adventures expanded universe of its very own. So, approximately 3 years ago, I went digging. I poked my nose into the novelizations, the games, the bonus web content, and the audio dramas. The Glittering Storm has Maria injected with liquid gold by a species called the Keratin. The Keratin are my new favourite Doctor Who baddies. They want to remove the oceans of Earth to collect the gold at the bottom of the seas so that they can rule the galaxy with the gold, with the pirate gold. Amazing. You can do it, guys. I believe in you. The Keratin possess Maria. Sarah Jane clocks it immediately. There is no drama, and she kills them all with salt water. No, please. No, they just wanted to inject gold in people so that they would remove all the water from the planet Earth so that they could get pirate gold. Listen, Sarah Jane don't mess around. She was trained in the 70s. Sarah Jane will kill you. These audios tell us a lot about Sarah, actually. They tell us that she wrote the cover stories in the news explaining away the dinosaurs in London and the Loch Ness in the North Sea, which doesn't really clock out timeline-wise, but we're told that she personally jammed the feed of the NASA Mars probe so that they didn't see the pyramids on Mars. In The White Wolf, we find out that Sarah Jane Smith is in touch with the Shadow Proclamation. Big Finish recently released a Rani set. I haven't gotten around to that one, but do you remember that Lockdown Auton story? Back in the day, Russell released a short bit of prose that explicitly told us that Boris Johnson was a Nestine consciousness Auton.
Our friends in America.
Kill yourself.
And thanks to this set, we now find out that it was Rani that took down their entire government, exposed him for the shop window dummy he is. Rani Chandra took down the Tories in Doctor Who universe.
And those awful people in their wine fridges and their dancing and their parties.
Wow, you can learn so much in the world of audio. But on TV, shit was crazy. Sarah Jane Adventures often was more unhinged than Doctor Who. Or Torchwood. In the unreleased TV story, Full Moon, a 2011 proposed and ready Halloween special, Clyde, Rani, Sky and Luke were celebrating and dressing up for Halloween until they eventually encounter the pagan gods. Gog and Magog.
Ready?
We're gonna die. Gog and Magog are two giants mentioned in the Bible and the Quran. Again, I would assume this is above their pay grade, especially as other Doctor Who expanded media, thank you Divided Loyalties, tells us that Gog and Magog were primordial villains, named by Rassilon himself, who listed them amongst the great old ones. And also apparently they were Time Lords from a earlier previous universe. Don't read this book. I personally think these secondary school kids should not be handling that one. Russell Davis 2 kind of has the power scaling of Sarah Jane from back in the day, where threats absolutely vary in scale, but power-wise, you could have Cthulhu in episode 3, and they'd handle that just fine. And last of all, I bought all of the novelizations for £5 and admittedly there were a lot of differences. Revenge of the Slitheen, oh my god. Every story that was published now has a new prologue that wasn't seen on TV. Nearly all of them are bloodthirsty, graphic, nasty shit. Revenge of the Slitheen, for instance. The prologue, written by Gary Russell, depicts the Slitheen killing the 28-year-old estate agent, Janine. Janine is de-skinned, and we are told all about it. They pulled the same thing when adapting the finale, this time describing how the Slitheen pulled a home invasion and slaughtered the Goss family. So a kid gets butchered this time. A degloved child on CPBC. The prologues aren't all game changers, but these extra scenes show us the Bannerman Road gang surviving the Atmos attack in Series 4. They tell us that Luke is still traumatized from the events of the Stolen Earth, and that Sarah did more research on the Doctor's companions.
Ian and Barbara Chesterton. Rumour has it, they've never aged. Not since the 60s.
In the novelization, they've got space to fill. Dr. Holloway gets a name drop, developing new, amazing advancements in surgery. Oh? As does Mel Bush, who was working for ACE's charity at this time, doing relief work in Africa. I don't fully get Mel Bush's timeline, and at this point I'm frankly too afraid to ask. When I beat the Flash game, it gave me this PNG as a new desktop, and I thought that was very nice. There they all are. Last of all, let's talk about Cricket Men. The Cricket Men were originally devised as Doctor Who baddies, written by writer and British hero Douglas Adams. This script in the early 80s was rejected, so instead he recycled it for parts in his third Hitchhiker's Guidebook. Life, the Universe and Everything it's twee, it's just okay. My ranking goes boom bap bing. The reason I bring it up though is that all discarded and lost stories, they all get adapted, they all become real, they all get told eventually. If Peter Capaldi drew a Dalek on a napkin one time in 2013, we will see that story on Big Finish in 5 years flat. It would be silly not to adapt a story by the late Douglas Adams, and James Goss got it published in 2018. If you believe in the sanctity of Doctor Who continuity, this one act has just combined 2 different universes.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
But hang on, that's not the only mention. Arthur Dent in the Christmas Invasion. Hooverloo is one of Adams's characters, name dropped in Rings of Akaten. Quaint British sci-fi. It's a small neighbourhood, and we know that Doctor Who does absorb neighbouring properties and IPs. I'm a huge fan of these books, and so immediately I get thinking there's gotta be something universe breaking in Hitchhiker's Guide. Does this link have any massive ramifications for the Whoniverse? Absolutely. Let's not even start on the fact that time travel gets a whole chapter, the debunking of time travel, and why it's looked down upon in this verse. But we could talk about the Cricket Men themselves. Millions of years ago, the people of Cricket one day collectively discovered that they could look up. This didn't go well for them, and prompted a xenophobic campaign against the stars. At the same time in the Doctor Who universe, James Goss tells us that we are in the dark times of Gallifrey's history, pre-history for us, and that the Cricket Men, these cricket-shaped robots who shot guns and cricket grenades, were a force that could threaten the Time Lords. Sick. Now personally, I don't think this is true. The Doctor and Romana defeat them by getting them to turn themselves on and off again really fast. But James Goss insists. He says no, the Cricket War was so devastating that the White Guardian had to step in and use the key to time to bring peace to the universe. The threat of the Cricket Men was so strong that they were the ones who ended the Dark Times. The vampires, the Rachnos, the Cthulhu were active in this time, buddy. And so the White Guardian scrubbed them from history. But now they're back, and they want to get the Wicket Gate Key. It's all very twee. Do not let the 5th Doctor meet these guys. I guess if you're gonna turn a Hitchhiker's book into a Doctor Who story, you do have to get rid of all of the charming dialogue and replace it with sci-fi lore.
Oh, I feel so depressed.
On Earth alone, in our galaxy, is cricket treated as fit subject for a game, and for that reason, the Earth has been shunned. Let's be blunt, it's a nasty game, says the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but then anyone who has been to any of the higher dimensions will know that there are pretty nasty heathen lot up there, who should just be smashed and done in, and would be too, if anyone could work out a way of firing missiles at right angles to reality. That's Hitchhikers there, telling us that the higher workings of the Doctor Who universe are mostly at war, in utter turmoil over the rules of how the game cricket is played. The ball was the first toy ever been invented. According to this book, Earth is shunned by the rest of the galaxy because we play cricket. Oh, are we talking Earth? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's got a lot to say about Earth. In fact, I remember that because of the nature of Sector ZZ9 plural Z Alpha, oh, first time, Earth exists along an infinitely long probability vector, like, the fifth dimension. As a result, the Whoniverse's Earth, whenever destroyed, whenever blown up, whenever anything happens to planet Earth, Douglas Adams tells us that a new Earth will pop into its place. Earth is a universal constant, and there is no reason to fuss about it. Somebody urgently should tell the Doctor this. I just think it would save him a lot of time. Thank you for watching. My Ko-fi is in the description. It's just like Patreon, but cheaper and nicer and voluntary. Bro Cannon's back. Tell your dad. See you in another 2 years.